Hello out there in podcast land. We are here for another episode of Elephants in the Practice Room. I am Sarah Oliver, your host. I'm here with my good friend, Mary Tavares. Did I say it right?
You did. Thanks.
All right, Tavares. Good deal. I mean, I've been her friend for a minute, but I just now learned how to say her last name. How not friend material is that?
It's all
Anyway,
good.
anyway, um, so Mary and I are here to talk today about an elephant that is pretty prevalent in not just the practice room, but all through society. And so we thought it was really relevant to bring today to talk about community and how it can be really helpful when we are dealing with burnout and just feeling like you're not sure which way to turn next, what should be next in your plan, maybe your career, just life in general, and how community, a good supportive community can be really, really helpful in times like these. So, Mary, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about you,
Yeah. Okay.
if you don't mind?
Absolutely. So I am a full-time Pilates teacher. I've taught for about 7 years full-time. Before that, I taught part-time yoga, some other group X classes, TRX. And then I had a big gap. I started teaching right during college, actually. I was a health and physical education major, exercise science, concentration. And I started teaching yoga my last year of school. And then I taught for about 4 years. And then I said, I can't do this for a living. And I didn't really value what I am good at. And I didn't really understand, like, this is what I'm good at. So I need to, like, hone this skill. And so I went back to grad school for environmental studies. It was great and worked for a couple of years. And then I had trouble getting a job. So it kind of forced me to get back into teaching. And I started teaching part-time and then was able to eventually teach full-time. And so I've taught, I guess, up to 47 classes a week, which I don't
Whoa,
recommend, like full burnout territory.
that's
Then I've
intense.
moved over, like, it was like the first couple years, and then moved into 36. That was still burnt, still not ideal. And now I'm at 26, which is pretty good, pretty balanced. Yeah. And we have the same, Sarah and I have the same communities that we connect to that are not in the US. They're Breathe Education in Australia. And then Adam McAtee, Evidence Based Pilates. He's actually in the US, he's in California. But I think around the new year, I kind of felt like, hey, I need to just plug myself in just to be getting what I need every week and be able to talk to people that think the same way, and I can ask questions, and both communities are research based, which is really, really helpful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and research shows that first of all, feeling like you can ask for help and or support is the first step. And so many people don't really feel like they can initially, and they just feel like this sense of loneliness or no one getting it. Or I know I feel that way a lot.
Hmm.
I tend to kind of be that person that has the contrary view and or asks a lot of questions, and that can make a lot of people feel either defensive or just like I'm, trying to be difficult, or and it's not the intent, right? It's
Yeah.
just trying to understand. So what kind of made you feel, you said like you wanted to get plugged in then in the new year. Like what kind of made you feel like number one, you needed to take that step and or like you could?
I think feeling that I wasn't being fed, and so my output wasn't going to be as strong, and it wasn't going to be quality if I wasn't getting what I felt like. I don't even know how to put words into it because I'm trying to remember. Feeling like I needed support, and I don't know how to, I don't want to sound bad, but like feeling like I'm surrounded by people, but not necessarily people that we're on the same page, like-minded about Pilates. And the part that I like about you saying that you're asking questions is like, there's like a frustration, at least to me, there's like a frustration of in the Pilates world, because I have that undergrad degree in health and exercise science. I would learn things, and I would learn things in the yoga world too. And I'm like, yeah, I just feel confused. Like, something just doesn't, I don't feel confident sharing that information because it doesn't feel strong and like concrete in me to share it. So I need, um, and what I've found out is that it's because it's not evidence based. Like if I'm like, I
Right.
don't know about that, like that just doesn't make sense. And I see a lot of that stuff too now on social media, is because
Mhm.
that's my meter for being like, hey, maybe that's bullshit.
Mhm.
So there's a reason that I feel confused and that I need to ask questions and that I need to find like clarity
Yeah.
before yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that I've felt the same, in the Pilates space. Also, long before the Pilates space, I always had music, right? So I felt that way in the music realm, like since childhood, right? And I'm not sure, like as a kid, did you ask a lot of questions? Were you kind of always, yeah. So I think it's kind of an
Yeah.
inborn, that's just you, right?
Yeah.
So
I
you
didn't
just kind of
accept
want
a
to know
status
why.
quo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Right. Yeah, and it's good to know like that there are other people out there feeling that same way and and to be able to check in with those people. Mary and I have also formed another little subgroup here in the US and we just have like a chat, the text thread and we just sometimes, vent and or ask a question that we're like, "Hey, I thought this. What do you guys think?" So just kind of having a sounding board, being able to ask those questions and not feel like you're going to be ostracized or like you are going to feel stupid asking the question, right? In fact, Mary and I were supposed to actually talk about another very nerdy, science-based topic, and I just was real with her yesterday and said, "Hey, I've been doing this research and I don't feel totally prepared to make these statements. Like I want to research more before putting this out as what I believe." And she was like, "Yeah, no, I totally understand." Like, and then we started to talk about what else could we talk about? And it's just like the answer was clear. Like, well, why don't we just talk about this? Like being able to talk to each other in real terms. And I mean, when I was doing this research, I was feeling very frustrated because I was like, well, I thought this, but then I found this. And what about that? And I know I'm being very vague about what I was researching, but it was a very, biomechanical thing. After talking to Mary, like I haven't even told Mary this yet, but like just being able to talk to Mary and her tell me, "Hey, why don't you look into X to kind of clarify this for yourself?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's a great thought." And I did. And just getting off the phone with her, like I just felt better. I just felt like, okay, there's a way forward. Like somebody else validated how I'm feeling. Like, it just can be really, really helpful. So where and then also, so I think this is an example of where you can get perspective too, right? Like we can all get perspective in just joining in with our friends and people who are like-minded. Like you're saying, connection is one of those things that is proven by evidence to help people with burnout and because it's a real thing and it's particularly a thing in people's workplace more than anything, right? We're seeing and particularly this time of year it can be really big for people who are teachers and or students. We're the very end of the semester here and people are just ready. The social calendar starts to pick up. There's a lot more commitments out there and being able to like really find this connection of sorts that, like you said, Mary, like not just being around people to be around people, like that's not always going to fill your cup, right? Well, or as
Yeah,
like it's often like draining, right? If you're around the wrong people and a source of frustration, right?
totally.
So, what are some other things that you find valuable about the communities that you've kind of sought out and found? And first of all, how
Yeah.
did you even find these communities?
Oh, so I was living in a different apartment building, and they didn't have washers and dryers in the units.
Hmm.
So I had to spend 4 hours every weekend when I was teaching, like, 6 days a week. I would spend, like, a whole weekend day doing laundry, and I'm like, "This is just a waste of my life. I have to make this not a wa how can I make this not a waste of my life?" So I was looking for podcasts on Pilates, and I found Pilates Elephants, and I'm
Hmm.
like so it made that time actually not a waste, and then it actually really changed my life because I did the cert through them, and then I did the diploma, but I had already started teaching in a more athletic way, and there was a physical therapist that put out a lot of really good information that was evidence-based that I had done some workshops with, and I would kinda listen to her stuff, and then I was doing resistance training, and that program is really evidence-based, so I would listen to that PT's podcast too, and I'm like, why am I having somebody what we were taught to do is lightweight for, like, 10 reps, like 8 to 10 reps for reformer exercises. I'm like, "That doesn't make sense. Why don't I put them on a heavier spring and do, like, 20 reps?" And it turns out that that's, like, how to incorporate strength training into Pilates is, like, get them in near fatigue in under 20 reps.
Sure.
So I was going through the difficult time of, like, being I would say definitely say bullied, like, at my old job of, like, they didn't like my teaching style, they didn't like me speaking out, like, I was overworked, underpaid, and so then I'm like, well, then I found Breathe, and I'm like, "I think I should probably go in this direction and, like, to have some support in my life." Like,
Mhm.
how the direction that I'm already going in it, and it really supported that, and so that's how I found Breathe, and then I found Adam McAtee because he was one of my trainers, and then he started his own business.
Mhm.
And then I met you because you heard me venting to Heath, and that wasn't even what the discussion was about that day. It was
Mhm.
like a group conversation. He just threw it out like, "Hey, do you have anything to talk about?" And it just came out because I didn't have anybody to talk about it with anywhere of
Yeah.
like, "Hey, the owner is telling people to not go to my classes because they have back pain and like I'm going to hurt them or something."
Yeah. Yeah.
So I brought that up and then you listened to the recording
Mhm.
and reached out to me on Instagram and you were like, "We have to stick together." I'm like, "We
Yeah.
do."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, well, 'cause I remember hearing that recording and was like, "My gosh, I'm feeling the exact same way, like, I have to reach out and, like." So I think that again, like, not being afraid to just say, "Hey, I see you, I hear you,
mhm,
I'm one of you," and but it sounds like what struck me about what you were saying just now about how you found your communities was essentially you had this spidey sense about what you wanted to do with your teaching and what made sense to you, but then you leaned into that, right? So you leaned into your truth, your authenticity, and that yielded your community, right?
mhm.
And so I'm guessing that when you get off of one of these calls with your community, you're feeling more empowered, more
Yeah,
like
more, like,
yourself.
alive, more
Yeah.
connected. My
Yeah.
brain is engaged, like, "Oh, wow,
Yeah.
this is" and ideally, it would be in the physical surroundings, like, ideally, I could but that's not how the world works, but fortunately, we have
Mm,
we're all connected now virtually, so we
virtually.
can find you
Yeah.
can find the people that you connect with when you can't find them, like, whatever environment that you're in.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like you can be in rural Iowa and find people in, China that are identifying with how you're feeling and it's remarkable that there's no shortage.
Mhm.
Now I do think, our small subgroup is all US people
Yeah.
and I think that that's helpful because we all kind of understand culturally more what we're going through here. But let's just kind of like brainstorm if you didn't have the online, resources, like
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
in general, like what are some other ways people can find their community just in like face to face? Because the other thing is too, like not everyone feels fed virtually, right?
Yeah.
Even though the evidence does support, connection via the internet, it's still like viable and helpful to people and data shows that. But what are some other like do you have any in-person community that currently or
I guess I used to teach yoga at a gym, and I taught
Mhm.
there for, like, 7 years, and it was just like it's a crunch gym, just like a, franchise, and I taught a class, it was, like, half yoga, half Pilates, and that gym just brought so many people in that I ended up forming a friend group through that class, and we all still keep in touch. And some of them have moved away, like, to different cities, but so, yeah, we had community every week, and during the pandemic, when they shut the gym down and then they opened it, but nobody wanted to go back, but, we would meet on Zoom twice a week. I'm like, "Why don't I just keep teaching?" Like, I'd teach twice a week, and we would do yoga, and we would talk, and then we would eat our dinner on Zoom,
Amazing. Amazing.
which was really cool, and then we would meet at one of the couple's houses, and we would be outside, and we would just stay outside and, like, bring dinner and do yoga outside.
Amazing.
Yeah, and that just formed through the gym, and one of the guys that I met early on, I met another girl through where I used to go to PT, and then they met, and then he was really interested in her, and now they're engaged.
Wow.
Yeah, so, like,
That's
they're
awesome.
couples, and they're some of my close friends, but,
Oh,
yeah, and that was all, like, completely unintentional.
wow.
Just,
Yeah.
so that was really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I think COVID did kind of yield some unexpected connection for a lot of people. Kind of got us back to what matters in some ways, right? So that was super cool. But again, you're saying these people came together because they had kind of a shared goal, right? They cared about, moving their bodies. And I think that can be a really big way for people to meet for sure. It does get harder and harder as we get older to make friends, right? And to just
Yeah.
even being willing to say like, "Hey, I think you're pretty cool. Like, do you want to get lunch?" Right? And it not be
Mhm.
weird. It's like hard. It's really
That's the
hard.
thing is all these people were super open. Like,
Yeah. Okay.
everybody was super like, one of the first women that I met actually so she's a flutist, like a
Mm,
that's lifelong flutist and
amazing.
performs and teaches, and so she is, just started she started chatting with me, and then another girl and then a guy walked in and he's just like, "Hey, is this open to everybody?" And it's just like, "Yeah," and then he brought his girlfriend, and then it was just like everybody
Amazing.
was like uninhibited in a way of, nobody was too cool to just walk up to somebody else and be like, "Hey, can I join
And
this class?"
you
Yeah.
think it was because of the pandemic?
But this was before. This was before.
Before.
Yeah. This was a few years before the pandemic, and then we just stuck together through it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was there anything that you attributed those people's just freedom to?
I
Like
think it was probably
freedom
their
to talk?
personality. I think
Yeah.
they're just open.
Yeah.
And I think the gym at that time was, like, very conducive. It was such a mix of ages and, like, everybody that was just kind of the culture there. It was like people just come here and they meet and, like it's Crunch Gym, and Crunch Gym, like, one of their values is, like, diversity. So that's just kind of pervasive in that gym's culture, but yeah, it
That's
was just
great.
a really cool place. It was a new neighborhood that was being developed, and, like, the
Mm,
studio where I teach is actually in that same neighborhood. The argument now is that the community is, like, overdeveloped. It's like an old industrial zone, and they've, made it, apartments and gym but the gym was, like, one of the first things. So people
great.
that were moving in there were coming, we could walk very easily and go to dinner.
Great.
So I think just even from, like, a development standpoint, that neighborhood brings, like, so many people into it, I would say in a very poorly developed way, like, there's, like we need some streetlights and we need some trees, and it's like an urban planning nightmare, but it's pulls a lot of people into it, so then a lot of people end up meeting there.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it sounds like this just proves another thing that evidence shows us is that when you share, you know, it sounds like these people really got a lot of joy from meeting each other and doing the thing that
Yep.
they're interested in. And then that just in turn creates joy for others, right? Like when you're creating a better space for those around you and really seeing people and kind of getting outside yourself, that can also be, really uplifting.
Yeah,
So, yeah. And,
exactly.
if you're out there and Mary and I obviously are very into movement and what we do, we love it. And so we find joy in helping others to move better and, you know, get stronger, find more freedom in their bodies. But if that's not you today, like maybe you're just more of a one-on-one person, right? You just want to talk to your friend on the phone. Maybe that's your connection. That's your source of like battery recharge. Like it doesn't have to be with like leaving your house even. It can just be like calling somebody over Zoom or picking up the phone or just really having a conversation that matters to you. Or maybe even just like, I don't know, go old school, write something. I was gonna say write a letter, but that might be too old school. Write an email to somebody, right? I think for a lot of people, like a spiritual center can be really big, whether you're,
Yep.
part of a community there. Um, that can be really helpful and uplifting whether a church, synagogue, anything that, really speaks to you and you feel like there's community there, that can be uplifting as well. I know one of the things that my partner and I do is we volunteer also. And so that can be another, again, community. So often, I shouldn't say so often, in case anybody listens, but, Saturday night, the night before, I'm often like, ugh, I don't want to go. I just want to sleep in. I just want to stay home tomorrow. I don't want to do it because we like leave it like 8 in the morning to go. But every time we go, I'm like, I'm so glad we went. And it's just so uplifting to like help others. Right. So that can be a source of connection too. Anyway, so Mary, any other tips for people out there in finding their community and finding their connection? Well, I do think that there is research. I don't know the exact research out there, but that when you share a meal with people, it
Mhm.
actually connects you in a different way. It might help to relax you in some way. I mean, again, I don't know that this is all based in science, but
Yeah.
I mean, if you're really just open and again on the same page and maybe puts you at ease. Go ahead.
Yeah. I remember what it was. So we had an Earth Day. I live in an apartment complex, and it's
Hmm.
actually like a really nice community. I've met a ton of people here, which I didn't
Great.
expect to, but we have a
Hey,
pool, we have a
awesome.
clubhouse. We have this
Awesome.
clubhouse in the middle, and I go there every morning because the sun comes in. So I'm like, I get my sunlight, I get my
Right.
cardio, like my
Amazing.
150 minutes cardio a week. Like I get the
Yep.
quota for healthy adults and I, get to like think but they have these events and it was like Earth Day and like, I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's Earth Day. I forgot about that." Like people don't think about Earth Day, but they had like I'm like, "I know they're going to have they gave away free plants." They're like, "Come and get
Mm.
like succulents." They were like going to give these plants away. And I'm like, "Yeah, like I love plants." So I'm like, "I'm going." And I was going to go and like get my plant and leave. And then I went and I met this woman and there was probably like 8 people in the beginning. And so I met her and she's like, "Oh, I love yoga. You should teach some classes here." And then I'm like, "Well, I'm going to try to meet some other people once I get my cookies and my cupcake and I'm going to sit down." We were there for like 2 hours. Like we
Wow.
were all and it was like a very big span. So I think people went for like free stuff and they ended up meeting. I met this guy that lives here, he's a firefighter, and we
Awesome.
were talking about fitness and
Great.
they have to climb a 100-foot ladder, like, straight
Hmm.
into the air just to qualify. I was like, "What do you have to do from a
Wow.
physical fitness standpoint?" And he's like,
Wow.
"Well,
Wow.
you have to climb this ladder." So I learned all this stuff, but then it really kind of we ended up getting into, like, a very serious not s pretty serious conversation that was, like, really supportive for, like, one of the people there. So,
Great.
yeah, and that was fully unexpected. And it was
Wow.
just
Yeah.
because they had free cookies and
Yeah.
cupcakes and, like, free
And plants.
yeah, and I got 2. Yeah, I was
That's
like yeah,
awesome.
so
That's such a good story. Yeah. It's just, again, people being there for other people. And like you said, you're meeting all these different types of people. And then, not that I'm looking for the ulterior motive, but think about, like, I don't know, you meet somebody in some profession and then you like need their services later and you're like, oh yeah, I know this person. Like I don't even
sure.
have to like go find a stranger. Like I already know somebody who's a lawyer or a, plumber, whatever. Right. So that's pretty cool
Yeah,
to kind of get
yeah.
it from perspective too, from different walks of life. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah,
Great.
it was a good example because 'cause I'm
Big
trying to
time.
think of other ways to just, like, meet random people. I mean, I would usually like volunteering, like you were
Yeah.
talking about. It's like the way
Yeah.
that I met people in the past was, like, environmental volunteering.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very similar like, breathe education is a very similar feel to when I was a kid, I did gymnastics, and it was, like,
Hmm.
3, 4 days a week, like, 4-hour practices, like and that was my hub for everything, like, learning about the sport, but learning about so many other things that were connected to it, and that's
Yeah.
exactly how that community felt. Just
Yeah.
very enriching
Great.
just an enriching thing to be a part of.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think again, it goes back to where are you feeling that enrichment? Like it's not going to be the same for every single person, right?
Mhm.
So you just have to kind of keep trying and be open and see that. I think so often for people who are high achievers and or, drilled to kind of produce like myself, and I'm sure you too, Mary, you seem very driven.
I need goals.
Yeah, yeah, like and musicians
Yeah.
in general, like they're goal oriented, right? That taking the time to socialize and or do something that's not work is sometimes really hard. It's
Mhm.
sometimes really like, what? This is like a waste of time or,
Right.
this is going to delay my success in X, right? But I think that's really kind of sometimes when the magic happens, like when you leave the space to explore these other things and like meet people and find these connections and maybe allow yourself to kind of find more where you're supposed to be in the moment.
Yeah.
So it
Do you
can
find
really
that
just
it's
accelerate.
similar? Sorry.
No, so go ahead.
Do you find that it's similar in the music community? Like, how does that parallel to the fitness, to the Pilates community in terms of how do you stay connected to other musicians and how do you meet other musicians? And
Such a good thought. Yeah. So, I mean, I'll be honest, I don't feel like there is a very good support network out there. And that's
Mhm.
one of the things that I'm trying to do with, my business, Studio de Capo, is trying to allow people to have that support. The orchestras, if you're fortunate enough to land a job and stay in that job, then yes, there can be relationships forged. But so often it's such a transient community
Yeah.
that people are just in for this gig, that gig. And so I think we really do have to work hard to, when we are at the gigs, when we are um, around our colleagues, which isn't always often. It's a lot of it can be a lonely profession, right?
Yep.
To really make the effort to talk to people. I mean, and I think so often because our profession is shrouded in a lot of judgment,
Yeah.
it can be, and this is another reason why I feel this parallel with, the Pilates world is there's a lot of judgment out there and a
Mhm.
lot of people sort of operating from this traditional way of thinking. And the music world is very much the same. Like
Yeah.
there's not often a lot of space for questioning and or growth. And that's kind of what fuels me to keep going with Studio da Capo is modernizing the way that we're training and thinking and operating in this culture. So
It's awesome.
keep going.
It seems
Yeah.
like
So
the
I
same supports would be needed. Like a musician
yes.
would need certain types of like inputs, supports to be able to maintain their
Yeah, their
yeah.
craft, their sanity. And that is kind of what I'm such a perfect lead in. Mary did not know this, but she kind of led me into talking about the fact that I've been trying different things, but I'm still really wanting to build this community for musicians. And so I'm actually crafting a new survey for feedback as to how people would be best served because this community is for you. And I do have that hope that it is this like enriching, empowering place that people just feel like they can go out and keep being themselves and keep doing what they love, right? So that survey is going to be in the show notes, so you can definitely fill that out. Even if you're listening to this recording like months after the fact, still love to hear your feedback. And I'll be putting it out in the newsletter. Which, by the way, if you want to get on the newsletter, just go to the website, sign up there, studio-decapo.com. That'll be in the show notes too.
Very
Why
cool.
not? Anyway, all right, Mary, anything else to chat about today?
I think I'm okay. I mean, I could go into random topics, but
Okay. Well, we'll get Mary on again because I'm sure we have plenty more to discuss that's relevant here.
yeah.
So, anyway, well, we hope you have a good rest of your day. And Mary, thanks so much for the awesome chat.
Thanks, Sarah.
All right. Bye.